Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Conversations. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and I'm with Roofers Coffee Shop. I'm a partner there. Today, we are meeting again for live Q&A. These coffee conversations have taken on a life of their own. And today, as I'm watching all the different people come on, I want to welcome you. Thank you for getting your cup of coffee and joining us this morning to talk about the disruption of roof coatings. I know it sounds a little wow, and I love that because roof coatings has done amazing things, and I think is at a point where it's going to just be able to provide so many solutions that we need in the world today. So I am very proud and happy to welcome Will Lorenz, the president of RCMA, Roof Coatings Manufacturers Association, and also the VP with General Coatings and Everroof. Welcome, Will.
Thank you, Heidi. It's a great opportunity. We appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to folks about roof coatings and the benefits that they provide, both the building owner and the contractor. So thank you for letting us get on Roofers Coffee Shop.
Well, you know, Will, I'm just so happy to have you here. We met a couple years ago at NRCA, and I can still remember sitting down at that table looking over the beautiful city of Chicago and getting to know you and what you're doing for the industry with roof coatings and spray foam. And now to have you here today as, you know, president of RCMA, it's just, I love how everything circles around. It's pretty cool.
Well, the roofing industry is dynamic, and it's a great place for all of us to work and enjoy, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it. And you know, whether you're talking with manufacturers like in the roof coating manufacturer side or contractors or being part of the NRCA, it's all terrific. We all are aligned really well to move forward.
You know, and that partnership is really what it's all about. And I have to tell you, one of the things that I have loved that we've been able to do in the last couple of years with Roofers Coffee Shop is to become a partner with RCMA. And I would love to introduce the executive director of RCMA, Dan Quinonez. I got it, Quinonez, there you go. Dan and I have been working together for the last couple of years, really the coffee shop and RCMA, looking at how do we bring all this information to the industry, how do we get it out there. So Dan, welcome to the show. I'm just so excited to have you here today.
Oh, thank you, Heidi. It's you know, it's been a wonderful relationship. I think that Roofers Coffee Shop has been a wonderful resource to RCMA members. And I'm just glad that we've been able to communicate and share so much information, because I think that, you know, for our industry, it's so important that knowledge is power. And we really, you know, our ability to work together has been giving a lot of great information to RCMA members and to the industry at large. So thank you for having us on.
That is, I think today with what we're going to be talking about really what is the disruption of roof coatings, how it's really taking our industry to that next level, and also a little bit of the state of the industry, right? Where are we going? I know, Dan, you were on the NRCA town hall last week, and Will, you've been so involved with everything that's going that way. Maybe let's just, I know we have some slides, we have some things to get to, but just let's give a little snapshot. Maybe Will, you could start with, what are you seeing out there in the industry and what do you see happening?
Well, I think we're all surviving COVID. I mean, I think that's the first thing. We're all essential. We're trying to get work done. The season's turning, so you've got winter coming upon half the country for sure. And so, you know, those are the short-term things that we all kind of cycle a bit through. But, you know, we're seeing things that have been prospering, let's say in the residential side, and then potential slowing on the commercial side. And there's a little bit of uncertainty as to whether or not, you know, building owners are going to invest in roofs quickly, you know, in their recovery in 21. And we hope that that does. Can't really be reliant on the federal government to come up with solutions for all of us. We all have to probably just, you know, talk to our customers and client base and do what we can to say, how can we help you and satisfy your needs in the roofing area? And roof coatings can provide that low-cost option for many solutions for roofers.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot from contractors across the country, and really the service and maintenance part of it. right? That service and maintenance is more important than ever. They're taking care of their building owners depending on really where they're at, because as we know, there's certain sectors that are just off the charts, economically success and trending with profits and revenue. And then there's a lot that just have been closed this whole time. So service and maintenance seems to be taking a huge priority on that. What did Dan, last week when you were, I know we had some great stats that came out of that town hall. What are some of the things that you're hearing on that front?
You know, it was interesting to kind of listen, you know, as a roofing industry at large, you know, there are a percentage that are successfully navigating through this, the COVID situation. And it was almost an equal percentage of those that were struggling and, you know, struggling to, you know, keep their existing contracts going forward. But it was evenly split, which was very unusual. And I think it's an indication that the industry at large, that you've got to have the ability to be flexible, diversify, enhance your technology, and be creative and be resourceful and take advantage of opportunities that you can. And you know, unfortunately, the climate's not going to change right now. You know, from the perspective that I see as executive director of RCMA, is it is going to take a little while, but if you do adjust and you do, you know, kind of see what you can do to make those adjustments, I think you can navigate through this tough time and be successful. Understand the lay of the land and what's happening. You know, being able to work with both your workers, your contractors, your property owners, your contractors, your sales team, and figure it out as best you can to make it work. It is going to take creativity, and I think those who are seeing it and are able to do it are of that percentage that I think are getting through this and doing well in the process.
Right. It's differentiating the different companies, don't you think, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think if your clients view their buildings as an asset, they're going to continue to invest in it. They're not going to let it diminish or be destroyed. And so they're going to invest in what roofing solution works for them. If it's a smaller customer or it's a leaseholder, you know, maybe it's not top priority for them, and you're going to have to remind those people that, you know, that's a valuable asset to them, and you know, come up with solutions. And just like you talked originally, maintenance and repair, those kind of offerings improve cash flow for contractors and help keep that building running and sustaining. And then it gives you that opportunity to be the first choice for them when they look at their next roofing option, whether it's extending the life of it or a new roof, and you want to be that choice. And you know, roof coatings can get up there and help weatherproof things and keep it going. So you know, your customer is happy until they get the money to invest further into their business.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier before we started, that also has to do with residential too. I mean, right now people are just trying to stay safe, and that may mean repairs even residentially that maybe they haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Coatings work exceptionally well in low slope. They work well in certain steep slope applications. Obviously, in residential, there's a lot of tile and shingle, and those things are the right products for those applications. But you know, there are metal roofs that get to be the end of their service life, and coatings are an excellent way to extend the life of them. And people have porches, people have all sorts of you know, low slope areas which coatings can seal up real well.
I just want to remind everybody out there that this is a Q&A, right? This is live. So we want to make sure that we are showing the slides that we're going to be having with the RCMA. We'll show those now, but also please look at asking questions. Megan Ellsworth is in the back. You can chat with her. She'll be chatting with you. She'll bring you on to visit with Will and Dan as we go through this. So let's get started with some of these topics that we have that we've been going through. So let's start with you, Will. Can you kind of talk through what you're seeing out there? We talked a little bit about the benefits of the coatings for contractors, and what are you seeing on how they're able to really take these kind of benefits with the coatings and really applying them into their businesses?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think NRCA numbers show that roof coatings are about 12 to 15% of the market. So, you know, a lot of roofs are being redone, extended, recoated, restored with roof coatings. So it's a substantial piece of the roofing market that contractors should consider being in if they're not presently. It allows them a different avenue to talk to customers and give them an option to extend that roof. What we've seen is in our marketplace, there's, you know, originally roof coatings were sort of in the black line business, bituminous coatings, and over the years, the white coating line, the reflective coatings have taken a strong position, and those are typically acrylics, silicones, and urethanes, and those products, particularly, let's say, acrylics, are quite easy to install, and silicones are fast to install, and you know, they're performing roof systems, and so, you know, you can step into that marketplace pretty easily to install roof coating. So, from a contractor standpoint, it's not a hard lift to get into that business. As I was telling you, Heidi, I think there's just two key factors for people to have to get into that business. One, need to be able to walk roofs and be able to estimate so that you can bid the job properly. And then number two, have somebody who can run a crew to install whatever system you want properly. And roof coatings have, you know, surface preparation and details with regard to penetrations. But once you master those things, you find that roof coating is quite easy to install and gives that benefit to customers. And so, you know, you get to be able to seal up a building and keep it watertight, and your customers are going to be happy with that.
I think what do you, Dan, from the RCMA standpoint, I know that exactly what Will's saying is really trying to get the message out on the sustainability, the ease of use, really the profitability and cost effectiveness of coatings. What are you seeing from coming into RCMA, kind of comments coming in from both building owners and from contractors about what's going on with coatings?
You know, it's an interesting, because in the last few years, I've seen a push on the regulatory side, especially on the West Coast, and even in places that you wouldn't expect for more efforts to use coatings and reflectivity, energy savings. There's definitely a push to encourage its use. I mean, take the state of California has, you know, been on the forefront of climate change, energy reduction, but you're seeing it across the board in states that normally wouldn't see it in, like Georgia and North Carolina and you know, Pennsylvania, where there, you know, there's a tremendous savings to the property owner. And then that property owner can then pass it on to the tenant, and I think that's where you're looking at. There's a business side of using coatings that could give the property owner more revenue, which they're looking for. So, and I think because of that, you know, both on the business side, the regulatory side, I think you're going to see there is an opportunity for tremendous growth, both in domestically and surprisingly internationally too.
Yeah.
There's an encouragement across the board. You know, you look at urban heat islands. That's popping up not just on the West Coast, but you know, I look at a city like Baltimore and Charlotte and Philadelphia and New York. You know, there's a savings, and then there's also a health concern that, you know, coatings can, you know, decrease the heat in a building. And if you're talking about low and middle income developments, you know, not only does it extend the life of the roof, but it's also helping people in those, you know, lower, you know, income communities, which is a benefit to city life, like say in a city like Baltimore.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know, Will, I know with what you do, besides being president of RCMA, with Everroof and with General Coatings, to me, there seems to be a consumer pushback a little bit on wanting solutions that have durability, that have energy efficiency, that really kind of people can, especially this new generation, they're asking for these kind of, they don't want just a roof, they want something that is going to help the environment, going to help people in the building. What are you seeing that way?
Well, in talking with my daughter, she's very conscious of the world, I would say,
Mhm.
and she wants to protect the world, and she wants to see things like sustainable building. She doesn't want to see a disposable world. I always have this discussion about plastic straws, for instance, and I think the same thing applies on the roofing side, which is a lot of our strategy in the past had been, when this roof gets to its service life, we take it off and we put it in the landfill and we start over. And the young kids don't necessarily want to see that. They want to see, how can we make this roof start and last extremely long on its first go, and then maybe not replace it for a long while because we can extend it or make it perform longer, and do it in such a way that it's low impact to the environment, and then it helps, with climate change, and helps reduce energy, and helps make all of the lives that are better. And I think we're adjusting to that new reality that we've got a finite resource in this globe.
Yeah, and it seems that with COVID that this is even it's even going faster. I mean, between the combination of technology and energy savings and just kind of the same, I keep saying the sanctity of the home. There's so much there, and I think that extends into our buildings and our office space and everything else. So, Dan, what are some of the things for contractors, and also what are you hearing from other manufacturers that are saying, this is how you communicate that to building owners? This is really how you talk about this kind of roofing, and like the title of this coffee conversation, the disruption of really kind of a whole new way of looking at roofing.
Yeah. This goes back, and a lot of folks, and we have an election coming in 2 weeks, which is always interesting because, I think folks get engaged and they look at what's happening in Washington, in terms of our industry, and RCA does a wonderful job with the fly-in. But the interesting part that I see is that a lot of the battles that are impacting our manufacturers and our contractors are on the state and local level. And that's where the real dollars could be lost as an industry or made. And I think, RCMA, we've made a very concerted effort to get engaged with these regulatory leaders. And it's not just government agencies. There's a lot of regulatory groups that are making decisions on their bottom line, business bottom lines, that some of our folks probably haven't heard of or engaged with, that are making decisions on, the reflectivity of your product, where your product could be used and how it's used. And what we've really tried to focus on, and our group and Will being a leading effort on this, is to talk to those groups, talk about the benefit of our product, how we help both in energy efficiency, climate change, and that's, a lot. Get involved in your associations, encourage them to be part of that effort. And I think that I look at the future with coatings, and we should be part of that discussion when I hear a lot of political leaders talk about solar panels and wind farms and all these things, and battery packs, but coatings needs to be part of that discussion. We're part of that energy efficiency, it's that plan. When you do everything and you put it all together, and that's where you're seeing the real change happen. And I think that coatings as an opportunity to be part of that discussion, but we have to be sure to get that in the regulators' ears, that they see and hear that. And I think sometimes they don't get enough of it. They don't hear enough about from contractors. They don't hear enough about from manufacturers. And I think we've spent a lot of time in the last few years being on the offensive, talking about the benefit of those products. And I think they're starting to see it, and I think they're hearing about it. And the more we get engaged, RCMA, I believe, is the leader on talking about the benefit of coatings for climate change and energy efficiency. And Will's been speaking about it, and a number of our members have been getting out there talking about it.
Well, this is very close to my heart, so thank you, because this is the stuff we need to do. This is who better to talk about it than the people who are developing it and seeing the benefits and working right in the street like you are. It's so good. We've got some great questions coming up here, so thank you everybody for chiming in. I'm going to read some of these I'm going to read some of these questions and comments, but please, if you want to get on and talk, we'll bring you on live. It's okay. Come on and talk to these gentlemen. They're not scary at all. It's all good. So I'm going to start out with Julie. She said that she has a note here that I just think is great. It's sustainability is a big part of business model and mission. I love that because Julie, thank you. And if you want to come on, just chat with Megan and let her know. The really making this part of the culture of your business and in your marketing, that is really, I think, a great, I mean, loving market sales and marketing, of course, but I think really looking at the benefits of coating, talking about the sustainability and the durability, and like Julie said, you know, making that part of your mission, that is pretty powerful when you're talking to building owners and homeowners, I think. Well, what have you seen on that?
I think it's all the way up and down the supply chain. I mean, I think manufacturers are looking to, you know, make products with recycled material. They're looking to get products that we can provide more sustainability, more durability, longer lasting. You know, these mega trends are here and we have to embrace them. We have to embrace technology. You know, I've always been so impressed how I've seen roofers have engaged, you know, just excellent technology to track and monitor and provide information to their customers as to the job status and what they're doing. And you know, as suppliers, we want to do the same thing. We want to give them the products that their customers demand. And, you know, they're wanting products that, you know, don't last 5, 8, 10 years. They want 20 years and longer. And they want systems that can be renewed and can be, you know, extended out so that, you know, that first cost maybe is the most, but then after that, the additional costs are less, you know, and they can continue to get the benefits without, you know, every time kind of putting up, oh, I got to buy a new car. Oh, yeah, maybe I can just run the car a little longer. You know?
Well, that's what we've been doing. So, we have Carrie Brooks on, and Carrie's going to come on with audio and has a really great question. So I'm going to let Carrie talk about that right here. Megan, are we ready to bring Carrie on?
Carrie, you should be unmuted.
Good morning. I actually had a question about overall environmental impact. Most of my educational background's actually in the sustainability field. And I know one of the big pushes specifically with EPDM is that when you're ripping a roof, that can then be reused on playgrounds and recycled in various ways. What actually happens to the EPDM if it's been coated to then extend the roof life? Is that still able to be recycled for other uses, or does that stop because of the coating?
I mean, I think that they're, you know, first of all, they try and get the membranes off and see what they can do with them. You know, certain coatings probably are difficult to get off of EPDM as a rubber, but you know, what the first goal of what we're trying to do is see if we can take that service life, which might have been 15 or 20 years, and turn it into 50 or 60 years with a couple different applications of coating. It's more difficult problem to get to how to separate materials and recycle them or get them back into use. But it is a challenge, and I think, you know, we all need to get involved, whether it's the manufacturers of the membranes with the coating folks, to find those solutions. But it is a challenge. I'm thinking it's probably difficult to get that coating off.
Dan, have you heard anything from other manufacturers out there too?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I think the roofing industry is at large, and I know this from just coatings and a few other product lines. Recycling has been difficult because there needs to be a balance in terms of the cost savings towards it and the cost effectiveness. It's expensive. The cost of it far outweighs the ability of folks to spend it. You know, I know I've worked and talked to quite a little bit from the national home builders. You know, a lot of home builders just, when they recycle or tear off a roof, it's going to a dumpster. There's not a financial viability to make it a profitable industry. And I think when it gets to a point where they can find a process to recycle it, I think, you know, on a cost benefit side, I think then you'll see a greater increase in finding ways to, especially when it comes to coatings, to find a more profitable way of doing that. I think the economic scales have to tip in favor of that. And, technology, I think may be behind a curve a little bit. And I think hopefully in the next 10 years, it does catch up. So you can utilize all roofs in that process. So I don't know if we're just there yet. I think in some international areas, I think they are ahead of the curve on that, but we're still behind that in the US.
One of the things I would say, Carrie, and first of all, thank you so much. Carrie, can you tell us where you're out of, what part of the country and who you're with?
Yeah, I'm out of Boston, Massachusetts with Northbridge Building Products. So we deal with roofing and also building facade. But I've also worked extensively in the manufacturing of like polyurethane-based adhesives. So I definitely understand your statements when you guys say that we are a bit behind some, like Europe, for instance. They're just far and ahead of where we are with not only recycling measures, but also on the manufacturing end, cutting out a lot of the chemicals that aren't seen to be beneficial to the environment, either if it's during manufacturing or even application. So.
Carrie, one of the things I would, just from the other side of things, one of the things I would recommend is for you to definitely follow up and talk with Dan and Will, because I was able to go through one of the RCMA meetings before all the COVID, where we were all in person, and really was able to listen to the technical reports that they have coming out, to the research that they're doing, and to just kind of we actually toured some labs. So for you to bring that question and really that challenge, which I think is so important for us and our country, for our everything, for our industry, to the RCMA, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about, is how do we make this all work? I know I may be speaking out of turn, but I've seen what you guys do during those meetings.
Yeah, and please, certainly getting back in touch. And one of the things, the industry itself wants to recycle their products. We don't want to see it end up in a landfill. I think the business side of us is to see it grow and use that product in multiple sources post roofing. And I think the more we hear from companies that are willing to do that, we want to share that information. We want to give that and share it with manufacturers, because interesting, a number of RCMA members are European companies, and they're kind of like, why haven't we done that in the US yet? But there's a lot of regulations and a lot of pushback from states and local codes. Or it's fascinating, the roadblocks that we get from wanting to recycle our own product. And whereas if you look in Europe, it's, why wouldn't you want to recycle it and use it for something else? So it's not just our industry. Our industry wants to see that happen. We need to make sure it's happening from even on your local township level, from that local code enforcement person seeing something that we can't do that. So it's very bizarre how that system works.
On my company side, my parent company makes polyurethane binders also for rubber. And so they do use, ground tires and so forth to make systems for, children's play areas, so forth. I was up in Yellowstone recently, and, they've got walkways around there, which are, rubber systems that are bonded together. And, they're more comfortable to walk around than asphalt or concrete. And, again, I think we should be continuing to do that. Some part I always see is that, we're sending these products to a separator or so forth who's collecting the materials, and those folks may not have the understanding of how to do that separation, and that's part of where we need a team to figure that out. I think acrylic coated ones are probably pretty easy, even urethane coated rubbers. Silicone is just kind of difficult to get things to bond to, so it might be more of a challenge to take ground up EPDM and then make it into some other product where you can bind it together. But I think it's all possible. We just got to figure out a little bit better how to separate it.
Yeah. Carrie, any other thoughts or questions?
No, just wanted to say thank you. And, it's no knock on the coating industry. I understand that, the membrane is such a small portion of that roof. So when you're able to extend the roof life by 20, 25, 30 plus years, that's huge, because not only are you extending the lifespan of that membrane, but also all of the adhesives that go into holding it down, or fasteners, the many layers, especially New England, the many layers of insulation. And that's all things that, would just end up basically in the trash. So that coating option is just really great, and I'm glad to see it gaining momentum in the market.
Thank you. And Carrie, please be sure to send us in some of what you're doing to the coffee shop, because we want to hear it. So thank you so much. We also have, our next question is coming from Sean Carney. And Sean, thank you so much for your question. He or she, lives out in the, where the internet isn't real great, kind of like me, and where I live in Central Oregon. So I'm going to ask the question. Can RCMA coordinate a national response for the industry and take advantage of this change? So Dan, I'm going to start with you, because I know you've been doing a lot. So they're really looking at how do we get this national response about, really kind of making the changes that you're talking about in codes.
Sure. One of the things that we look at, looking at the lay of the land and the change of the, balancing out the climate, and it comes out, I look at it as twofold. Number one, it's your customer base. I think the manufacturers and in terms of looking at customers and, the building owners and homeowners, what's the marketing side of things has to balance out with the technology. And I think what you're seeing is a lot of folks who are thinking more about the environment and the climate as they buy their homes. I think maybe 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. They were looking at the home themselves. But now I think consumers are starting to see, there's a benefit to having these kind of changes there. RCMA and a number of the roofing groups are, learning a tremendous more about, climate change and energy efficiency. And I remember talking to one of our long-term members talking about, black roofs over white roofs. He said 20 years ago, you didn't have anybody. You had maybe one product, white coating. You didn't have that 20, maybe even 15 years ago, right? Well, I mean, there weren't many of them out there. It's changed now. Everyone carries that product. Everybody is part of that. And I think the reason that has happened is, number one, on the regulatory side, things have changed. You're seeing it on the state and local level. They're mandating it, they're requiring it, they're encouraging it. And then, on the consumer side, it's changed. Even my own area here in Northern Virginia, outside of DC, you're starting to see a lot of new builds that are, steep slope but they're also flat slope and flat roofs now, low slope. And you're seeing these homes changes, and the designs are changing, which you're seeing white roofs on there. So they're concerned about energy efficiency and the climate. And so what RCMA is trying to be, we're trying to gather all that information and be a resource both to our manufacturers, but to also share that information with, the folks who make the policy decisions, and, and coordinate with them and provide them data and information. That's our primary role, is to give them the education about the effectiveness of coding. So when they go and they make their decision, whether on a regulatory side, on a code decision, they have an understanding of the benefits of coatings. And I think we currently do that right now, where we go to and we attend a number of hearings and meetings, and we participate and provide that information. And folks like Will and a number of our manufacturers also participate in those efforts. And that is, on a national level, is the greatest change we can make as a group.
Well, and you know what? I think I have a little bit of morning brain, because Sean and I have worked together. Sean, forgive me, I'm sorry, but Sean's been involved in coatings, and we worked together a long time ago out of Spokane. And so Sean, we'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, Sean, I love the fact that you're pushing to have more involvement and to really do this national, and that's what Will's been doing. I mean, as president of RCMA, you've been talking a lot about different things. Maybe talk to that point just a second.
Yeah, I thought Sean's question was primarily about sustainability, and recycling is at least how I interpreted it. And I think those are key for us. At the end of the day, if we're disposable in this business, we're going to be replaceable too. So I think it's very important that we look at the substrates that coatings get put on, the roof systems that exist that are the opportunity for roof coatings, and be part of that dialogue, because some of that roof that you're going to try and put in a landfill has got roof coating on it. It's also got insulation, cover boards, membranes, or metal, or some other system, built up roof systems, things like that. So, the roofing industry as a whole has to be part of that dialogue, and hopefully, RCMA can join forces with NRCA about it, and other entities, SPRY and so forth, and help lead that conversation to say, look, we don't want our products all the time in the landfills. We want to continue to have them perform for long times and be seen as being positive to climate change, and helping buildings become more efficient and perform for longer, so that the customer satisfaction of what are invested into your roofs with regard to materials and labor is worth it for the economy and how people view their lives. And we want to be part of that dialogue. I think we're a voice in it, but I definitely think it's a broad voice that we need to get a coalition about.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some another, and maybe if we're looking, Stan Hoberg had some questions if he's looking to come on, and George Daisy. So both of them with some great comments. I will find out if they want me. You know what? I'll just ask George Daisy's question, because that's the next one. And then George, if you want to come on, just let me know. Can you speak to the importance of using the correct coating for the job? Not all coatings are the same. Some are designed for very specific applications. Often problems happen when the wrong coating is used. Well,
I agree completely. I think, first of all, the first job, if you're putting a coating over an existing roof system, is to go up there and evaluate what is there, and what is in a good enough condition for you to coat, because not every roof is a candidate to be extended with roof coatings or to be weatherproof. Some of it has gotten past service life. It's moisture saturated, or it's degraded to the point of which you can't get a good bond to it. So that evaluation is key. And then looking at the environment that it's in. If you have a building that's a cold storage building, and clearly you've got temperatures where you've got moisture being brought into the building, you have to have something with some vapor barrier properties to it to resist that. Otherwise, you're going to saturate the insulation below. So, there are important things there. And then there are climate zones. I think George may be hitting upon that. There are places in Arizona where they're hot and dry, and those are beautiful places for acrylic technology. They perform so well, they dry so well. Then there are places in the cold north, which, silicones perform exceptionally well. They are the coating of choice, in my opinion, for those areas. And then there are places where there's wet and damp, and you've got to get the coating to get on there, and hopefully it's a dry surface so it doesn't have any issues with adhesion or delamination. And then, if you got constant ponding water, you want a coating that holds up to that. Or if you're an area that sees a lot of expansion, contraction, you want a tough coating that can survive that. So there's a lot of different options available, and some of it also comes down to what the building owner is willing to pay for, because not every solution is a Cadillac. It may be a Cadillac for that circumstance, but sometimes it is actually more expensive to install. And there's a number of roof systems that are put on that are 20 mils, but many are 50 mils, and putting more product on there gives you more enhanced durability. And some people are also doing roof coatings with what we call fluid applied systems, which are typically reinforced with fabric, and more elaborate system with better performance, better durability. And so it's not just a maintenance coating, it is a true fluid applied roof system. And coatings has that whole gamut to offer to people. And so I encourage the contractor to go and look at what's on the roof and talk to his client about what they expect, and then design it from there. We've got multiple technologies that can fit, and multiple systems from many great manufacturers. We've got 70 plus manufacturers and suppliers in the roof coating manufacturing organization, and they have the solutions for these roofs. Some may start with a tear off because it's too far gone, but many are excellent candidates for roof coatings.
And I think for the roofing contractors, what you just said is so important. And so I want to say thank you to George and thank you, George. George has been on before and he just sent me a little note saying, not this time, he's multitasking. So we know we all do that. So George, thank you so much. But I think it is so important, that relationship between the contractors and the manufacturers, right? I mean, you have to have that kind of really strong relationship so that you're learning all the technical, all the new innovation, everything that's coming out. And you have somebody who has your back, who's walking that roof with you to making sure that things are right for the building owners. And we have a note here, and I'm not sure if Stan's going to be coming on or not, but Stan Hoberg is saying that he is working with lobbyists and government to help push coatings, that they're doing that with Tropical. So, and Tropical has been, and Richard Zagelbone, who I've worked with for a long time, very, very focused on getting out there and really pushing the coatings. So it seems like what I'm hearing, and maybe Dan, before we kind of move on to the contractor portion of this, just how much your membership is out there working every single day to help with this is what we're hearing.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Is in the last few years, the opportunity to enhance our product line, the coatings industry, through regulatory action, but it's both on the federal, state, and local level. We've seen that battle enhance and increase tremendously. As I've said before, on the regulatory side, both manufacturers, contractors, and property owners, you have to be engaged. And I'll make a plug for RCMA. I know Will does. The one thing I've seen is, I think many companies in cost-cutting efforts say, you know what, I'm not so quite sure right now we want to be part of an association. But the one thing RCMA does, and I think we do very well, is that we represent the industry at those meetings. We're representing those manufacturers, whether they know it or not, whether they're members or not, at these regulatory meetings, when we go into a congressional office and we're talking to a congressman or a senator or the EPA, we're representing the industry. And the one thing that I think we do very well is we look at the future of the industry and say, where should we put our efforts? And it's not just on the lobbying and regulatory side, but enhancing, coatings as a whole and showing its benefit. But we also get involved in testing. We look at future problems down the line, and we get engaged in effort. I know Will and a couple of our members have been very active on, talking about, we had a question about EPDMs, and we get engaged in that. The life of coatings, the chemical substances in the coatings, and how they could be regulated. Looking at future problems, say, a good example, everybody wants to talk about, solar panels and the benefit of solar panels. But a lot of folks, may not realize that solar panels can generate heat on a roof, and that could cause damage. Yeah. That's a long-term problem. So everybody's rushing to put the panel on because they think it's saving them money in the long run. Well, guess what? You may have to replace that roof because there's going to be heat damage in the long run. So, RCMA gets engaged in that. We look at the opportunity to test for those things. We work with manufacturers to test those coatings to see if they can withstand it. So, it's so important for whether as a contractor or manufacturer to be part of an association. I give a plug to NRCA, and Reed and his team do an amazing job. And this goes out to a lot of the marketing folks. It's important to be part of an association because they, again, they're representing your product in those areas that you may not get into. And, RCMA, it's not just meetings and, cocktail parties and receptions. We learn a lot. We study a lot. We participate in a lot of testing. We do a lot of marketing efforts as our industry as a whole. And I know Will's been really making an effort to reach out to a lot of companies who are not members and realizing that it's a benefit. Membership has its perks.
Yeah.
Right. Well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't remember the reception, but I remember all the testing that you brought out. So yeah. That's a lot.
Well, and I'll just say, I think, when you look at the roofing industry as a whole, we're part of that discussion that tries to get energy tax credits for our industry. We're part of trying to make sure that regulations are responsible, and that they're consistent and they're science-based, and that, but that we're also going forward with technology, that if there's enhancements and improvements, that we're embracing it, because the trends are there. People want better, and that what that better is keeps changing, but it's certainly, they want lower risk, they want better from a standpoint of environmental impact, and they want to save energy. And it's not always just about generating power, it's conservation and durability. Those play a great role in making a building sustainable. And you can't just power your way out of it. You've got to really make a good building that performs.
Right.
Roof coatings are really part of that solution.
Yeah, strong buildings. Well, and I really want to get to, we have about 15 minutes left. And so we talked a lot about on the national level and with the manufacturers, but I know I had a number of emails ahead of time from contractors saying, I want to get coatings into my business. I want to get more involved. If I'm a residential, I want to do more commercial. If I'm, doing membranes, I want to add coatings in there. I want to start a service and maintenance program. So I know that you have been working very hard on bringing that kind of training and that kind of education to the market. So maybe you could talk just a little bit about this, Will, maybe you can start off with your contractor training program. What is it and what's happening here?
So we see a need for people to understand what coatings are and how they can be used in their business and how they can be installed properly. And, but first we have to explain a bit of how a coating is. I mean, sometimes it's a coating that reacts and then it cures that way. Sometimes it's a material that coalesces and forms a film. And, which technologies are that? Which one's the acrylic? Which one's the silicone? Some of them are moisture cure. We have two component, we have single component. So we thought it was really necessary to put together training modules that could explain coatings to people in a very simple format so they could use it, understand it, not become a chemist overnight, but really be comfortable with the coatings. And coatings need to be applied onto something. So part of that discussion is how to do it and what's the substrate and what's necessary to get that good bond and get it to cure and perform. And then what else do you need to do when you're thinking about a coating? Because we look at localized reinforcement or treatment of the seams and penetrations as part of the solution to having a good roof, and coatings play a role in that, but it has to be incorporated. So we've got 3 modules here that kind of help people learn about roof coatings from sort of alpha to omega, I might say. And it offers you an opportunity to learn and get CEU credit, but it's really designed from a person who comes in with no base knowledge about roof coatings, no preconceived notions, and we're able to take them to a very far level of being able to engage and utilize roof coatings. And Dan and the team and our technical affairs group that have been putting together this program have worked very hard, and I want to congratulate them for what they're doing here, because it's the way forward. People need to be open to education, and our group's doing a great job with that.
Yeah, that is so good. I mean, and that's what we need. We need continuing education. We're trying to recruit all these young people, all different types of people into the industry. So we need to have this kind of educational programs out there. And in fact, we have a gentleman, Patrick Hanley, has a question about coatings. So Patrick, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay.
I had a question. After the coating is applied, is there a recommended maintenance schedule for the coming years that includes additional applications to maintain the effectiveness of the coating? And a follow-up question, since they let me unmute myself, are there harsher environments like constant sun and heat of the South that require even more applications on a regular basis? So how do the different environmental areas throughout the country impact the coatings?
And before we answer that question, just real quick, Patrick, can you tell us exactly where you're located in your business?
I'm currently in Orlando, Florida, and I work with OMG Roofing Products.
Awesome, thank you. Go ahead, Will.
Thanks.
I would say this, you have to know what the customer's expectation is for the roof system you're putting on. And so if they're looking for something that's going to perform for 10 years or 20 years, you need to choose the right system that's going to do that. And coatings, like everything else, will wear. There's always a loss rate over time. And so there comes a point at which even if you put on a significant amount of coating, that it will wear off or wear down and you need to replace it. So, typically in our industry, they have thicknesses that are applied for a nominal 10-year or 20-year application. And usually if you stay within that window, that's a good performance out there. Now, when you get closer to that 10-year mark, let's say at the 8-year mark, you'll start to notice that, that maybe we should go recoat this earlier because, the weather conditions have been a little bit more challenging and the wear, as the climate change has been happening, maybe people have been walking on it or damaging it and you need to get on there. But, I generally believe that roof contractors have good maintenance program ideas, which is you always got to get on a roof at least once a year, if not twice a year, and see on there. At least get up there and clean the drains and make sure that your roof is performing and that someone hasn't come along, whether it's the air conditioner guy and dropped a tool and damaged your membrane or your coating or just cause something that could be a leak for you. So it's important to get eyeballs on the roof and really have a roof that doesn't have any debris or mechanical damage. And then, generally roof coating systems particularly perform very well. But, if you're looking at an environment like Florida, which you might see a lot more sun or a lot more rain even, you want to get a coating system that's designed for that and have enough millage to perform for the 10-year period or 20-year period, as well as have positive slope. I mean, if the roof is ponding and so forth, that's the type of things you need to address, and it should be done when it's first installed. But if it continues to be a problem, you've got some sagging or other things, you don't want to wait. You want to try and address that because that's when you can get into failure and other problems.
And Will, I know I'm probably going to say this the wrong way, but you did a great promotion on Rivers Coffee Shop. I think probably about, I don't know, wasn't it 6 months ago with the oculator, the tool to measure? Yeah, those are the kind of things that service and maintenance. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we believe that people should get what they pay for. If you're supposed to get 30 mils of coating, the contractor should be able to know that it's on there, and the building owner should be able to be provided information that he's gotten that application rate. And so simple things on a roof coating is to just cut a little slit, just a little sort of smiley face, and putting up to an optical comparator which has a gradient scale, and you're able to read and say, look, this is how much we put on. We told you we were putting 30 on. We did a good job. You got 32 mils. We want to make sure that this system's going to perform and you've got what you expected. And roof coatings are a field applied material, and it's very important that people apply it uniformly and get to the right thicknesses. But really, in a roof system, I'll just tell you that I think it's about surface preparation and how you handle the penetrations, because if it's a pipe that can bring water in, if it's not sealed well, it will bring water in. And so whether it's a system with a membrane or a roof coating, you got to do those things right, and then the roof will perform. And that's what part of these modules will teach you about preparation and evaluating the roof, and then how to do the application right so it's successful. And that's what's really important.
Well, and that's what we're seeing here too. We have a couple of other people who have come in and we're getting close here, so I want to make sure we get it in. First of all, some simple questions. Are the contractor programs, this training in Spanish?
Sure.
I can put it in Spanish.
We will be. This is we're very excited about for RCMA to do this. It's going to be the first time RCMA is doing this. It's web-based training. We're probably going to most likely going to end up launching it in early January. Incredibly excited by it. A lot of our members have worked very hard over the last year to develop these modules and this program. Once it is set up, we'll start initially in English and then have it translated in Spanish as well. But it is first time going out and doing this. We're very excited about it, and I think we hope in the long terms this will allow RCMA to enhance its training program. And I think that it was going to be a wonderful opportunity for both contractors and and eventually at some point expand that to folks who are roofing consultants as well. And I think that it's something we really look forward to seeing it grow over a period of time.
Well, I have to tell you, you're getting a lot of attention here on the questions. And so that was definitely one where Julie wanted, so the request is to have it in Spanish too. How important is that for all the training?
Very
and
important.
then very important. And then we also had a question about, can you comment on, and maybe what I'm going to say is, since we're getting close on time, but really the comment was on labor situation in the COVID phase, how labor is working. And so maybe just real quickly, the fact that they can do this kind of training right now during COVID, right? And then how's that helping the labor situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I think roof coatings generally can be installed with less labor than other roof systems. So that's the first benefit to a contractor looking to install it. It may need a few individuals, but maybe not as many as some other roof systems. So less to train and less to put on a roof. And I believe, once you address surface preparation and penetrations well, you'll find that it works well. Most coatings being applied are either acrylic, silicones, or urethanes, or bituminous. And so there's not a lot of mixing and a lot complications for people to get it, let's say, formulated right up on the roof. Most of them are open up the bucket or spray it out in a single component, because that's what people want. They want ease and convenience. They want a single component system. And our industry really has developed that type of technology. And so, the modules give you that ability to learn how to install the product. But, you might have to choose which path you want to go, whether you're going to be the dip and roll kind of guys where you're going to have more labor folks doing it, or you're going to invest in high pressure equipment to spray it out there. And I would encourage good sized contractors certainly invest in the equipment, because that's where your next level of labor saving is being able to apply it either with rollers or being mechanical rolling or high pressure spray. And you'll find that suddenly your profitability increases a great deal, because you've got more square footage done that day than with a number of individuals out there dipping and rolling.
Yeah, well, I just want to point this out too. My dear friend Jennifer Trepane, she said, I'm excited to be able to share and promote unbiased contractor education on coatings from RCMA before getting into the specific coating systems that I provide. When do you expect this program to roll out, Dan?
Sure. Expecting it hopefully, I think we're early in January. I'm looking forward to, we're all praying and hoping that we can have an IRE and really kind of demonstrating the program there. But I'm hoping in January, February, the latest, once we're able to roll it out. To answer that question too about, the lack of workers and stuff, I think COVID opened the opportunity for a real discussion on, this issue. And I think with training and finding workers and, what are we going to do when the economy comes back if we're struggling during COVID to find workers? I made this point in a discussion, before that, the hotel restaurant industry has been, decimated, and there's a lot of folks that were out of work there. It's an opportunity then from a look for new career changes to say, I can make a substantial living working in the roofing industry. And there's longevity there, and in the construction industry as a whole, there's a real opportunity for folks to think about. Maybe, that is the place to look at. And there's an opportunity for folks that are looking for work to think about that as well.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And we could go for another hour, gentlemen. I think this is just like so great. So I do want to say, Doug Keller, I know you had an awesome question on silicones and how they're adhering. So I'm going to get you over to Will afterwards. I think this is very much of a Will question. So Will, stay tuned. You're going to have a cool question coming your way.
Thank you.
And I also want to say thank you. We had a couple, Bobby Picker, you had another question about RCMA coding criteria. We'll get back to you on that question. And Jimmy, thank you for the shout out on the job today. I want to also say that there are several RCMA companies who have education and training on Roofers Coffee Shop. So Greg Cavalti with Western Colloid, who was the president last year, they did an awesome job in RLW on the Roofers Coffee Shop, talking about application skills, how to do it, about the technology that Will's talking about in spraying. So there is just so much information on the RCMA, and then we take all that RCMA and we put it on Roofers Coffee Shop. So take the time to go on demand and listen to some of these education. And like I said, these two gentlemen are very easy to get a hold of. And so I would encourage everyone to reach out to them, ask them questions about the training. We will definitely, Dan, right? We're going to be able to get a big hooray celebration when these trainings launch on Roofers Coffee Shop, right?
They are, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Dan, for being here today.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you, Heidi. It's been
Thank you. And thank all of you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the conversation. That's what we want. We really want to keep this conversation going. So 2 weeks from now, on November 5th, we're going to be talking about how we get more veterans into roofing. I'm very excited about this topic. We have some contractors, some veterans who have done so much for our country, who are in roofing, who are helping to bring more veterans into the roofing industry. And what can we be doing as an industry to help our veterans who've done so much for all of us? So it's November, Veterans Day, and we're going to kick it off on Coffee Conversations on November 5th. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you.